Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking with Talent. This is now the third season, and I have with me Darren Darnborough. Thank you so much for joining me from the other side of the globe. I'm sure you can all see in the background, and I'm very jealous right now being in London, the crystal blue waves that are crashing on the beachfront there. But thank you so much for joining me, Darren. All the way in, I was about to say Miami, no. Hawaii, even more
Hawaii,
tropic.
yeah. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And so for those of you who don't know, Darren is the co-founder of WeAudition, something that I'm sure many of you have heard even just the name of over lockdown, because it absolutely exploded, and for good reason. It's done tremendous amounts of good for people's mental health, the well-being, their productivity, so much, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Well, first of all, when did that all begin? Because it obviously in the last 14, 16 months blew up into this huge phenomenon where it drew loads of attention from amazing casting directors that were doing this casting for Corona and casting crushes Corona. But yeah, where did it all begin?
Well, it's a really interesting week for us, actually, because we are celebrating our 6th birthday this week.
Happy birthday. I didn't actually know that.
Yeah, launched 6 years ago, which means we started the business 7 years ago, roughly, because it took a little while to develop, which means we were thinking about it 8 years ago now. So it's not an overnight thing. And what was really interesting about, people using it during the pandemic, you're right, it did kind of blow up during the pandemic because it sort of went from a luxury item in your actor's toolbox to a necessity. So the truth is, a lot of top people were using it and did know about it quite a few years ago. But the wider market, I think a lot of people knew about WeAudition, but they were like, when I need it, I know it's there.
Sure.
And what the pandemic did for that was change it into like a daily habit for people, which was really interesting because when we saw people discover it as a daily sort of habit or piece in their toolbox, the way they were talking about it, we were like, our early members know this already. They were using it in that way. It's one of those softwares that once you use it once, you go, oh gosh, why wasn't I using this sooner?
Yeah.
But it takes that first, I guess it's like going to the gym. You don't want to go to the gym. You don't want to go to the gym. And suddenly you're in the gym every day and you're like, wait, when did this happen?
Yeah.
Because you see the benefits of it. So we started it 6 years ago in 2015 on the US tax day. That was a deliberate day that we started it on, because the whole point of what we really thought about WeAudition was it will be a way for actors to make regular income from acting. So that was about like unique propositions, really. It is a way for you to get better at your craft, but we really wanted to help people make more money from the thing they love doing. So our original slogan was ditch your day job.
Okay, yeah.
And your day job could be acting, yeah.
And do you find that people, have you heard success stories where people actually have genuinely not needed that support job, where they've pretty much used that as their primary income?
100%. We get those stories every day. There are people earning thousands of dollars a month on it.
Right.
Excuse me, I've got to turn these notifications off. Sorry.
It's all good.
1 second. Done. Yeah, there's people earning thousands of dollars a month off it. They log in daily to be readers for other people, and their fees are reasonable, and that's their second job for sure.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
The fringe benefit of that is that you're still acting, because there's two sides to every scene. So just because you're helping someone else out on their audition, you're actually still flexing your muscles as well. And another benefit we hear from the readers is they're very knowledgeable now on what's out there, because every day they're reading real auditions. So they know what the trends are. They know what pilots are casting, or they'll end up getting a script for an audition for themselves, and they're already aware of the show and the other characters because they've read them with someone else. That's
fantastic. Actually, it gives you that secret insight which you wouldn't actually normally have. Exactly. That's amazing. And has it been more popular in a certain part of the world? Like, do you think has the States sort of grabbed quicker than England has, or is it quite literally world over now?
Yeah. Okay. So the truth is that the United States did grab it quickly from the start. Actually, me and Richard are both British. He lives in England. I live usually in America, in Los Angeles. And so we have a wide network amongst ourselves, but we found that the United States actors were much more receptive to it from the start. Right. I think that comes from a certain mentality of the actors there invest in training and education every day. The British way is more sort of drama school top heavy. So just in that traditional mentality, the American actors are much more into working on their craft every day, and using different tools, and to be blunt, paying for it, right? Yeah. So there was a reluctance from English actors. That said, it's now more even. I think one of the things that the pandemic did for people is it sort of opened up a world of online opportunities for them. And again, it's that thing that I said, once you use something and it works for you, you can't deny it because it's working for you. So I just saw a little bit of difference in the adoption rates. Yeah. And the Americans were definitely more early adopters. Now, if we drill into why that is, self-tapes were happening way earlier in the American market than in, right? So it was already very normal. Even me living in LA as an actor, I would be a mile away from the casting studio, but sometimes the request would be a self-tape. Right. Pre-pandemic. Yeah. So we were much more used to finding readers all the time, and things like that. So I think but now it's leveled out. And, in terms of worldwide, we have members all over the world, so many different countries. That's fantastic. One of our top members is in Malaysia. Wow. And she's rehearsing every day with Hollywood actors, and her acting game has gone way up because she's a great actor. But in a smaller international market where there's less going on, especially not big American shows. So she's now getting to understand that angle from it without even being in the country, which is incredible. Yeah, that is fantastic. And it's so nice to have that connection from the internet, and being able to connect with actors across the world, from Malaysia. That's amazing. And that's a really interesting thing about time zones as well, because the whole point of ReAudition is it's on my schedule, right? So if I'm an actor and I've got a rehearsal, I want to do my work and I want to just get it done when I want to get it done. Now that might mean because I have another job, like I work in a bar or restaurant or something, I get home late. Or I might just have found my great lighting in my place for my self-tape and I want to work right now, right? So if that happens to be in the middle of the night, well, someone in Australia is ready and awake to help me. Yeah. I don't have to wait for my friend to be available the next day, So it's great that we have this network because you can rely on the fact that there's a reader for you 24/7 at some point. There's always someone available. I actually scrolled really far down onto the Instagram page of ReAudition to find one of her very early posts, and I thought it was very poignant and something that, as we were discussing off air, it's always something for talking with talent is we find the sort of the person behind it all and the personal stories. And I just thought it was a beautiful quote, which hopefully you'd forgotten, and I can bring it to your memory again. But you wrote, "You truly believe we are changing the acting industry for the better." And I think that's a beautiful sentiment, first of all, and something that if you haven't thought about that you said that, you can now absolutely sit there and look at the change you've made. And that's, well, I guess from everyone, UK, America, Malaysia, everyone, we thank you for that, because you and Richard have changed the game, and you should be very proud of what's happened from it, because I think the pandemic would have been a very different picture if it wasn't for ReAudition. So thank you. Yeah. To talk about that, I mean, I appreciate you saying that. It means a lot that you went that far back and saw that. And I hadn't forgotten that, because that's actually part of our mission statement and our mantra, really, is that
that's good.
Me and Richard are both actors. We have been for many years. We've both worked in multiple places around the world, so we understand the industry from different perspectives. And we've both been producers and directors, right? So one of the things that we wanted to make sure when we're running this business is that we build the business that we want to be part of.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And of course, right, a business has to make money. It has to be profitable. We have investors, things like that, right? But we were very adamant that we're not going to do it in the ways that we don't like, or the ways that we know other people don't like, right? And I think the acting industry has long been very exploitative.
Yeah.
And so the problem is now there's been such a trend with exploiting actors, or just, you know, just making money out of actors for not giving much value, or even a lot of products or services out there, they kind of skew the message a little bit, give false hope, things like that, right? And the truth is, you do have to invest in your career. You do have to do things, and you do need tools, right? Any industry needs tools, but it's navigating the right ones. And what we wanted to make sure we did is, yeah, we're happy to charge people money. We want to give value. And so that's always our mantra is, how can we give way more value than you're paying us, right? And so in terms of building something that changes the acting industry for the better, we just look at all the ways in which our business operates, and we're like, how can this be done in a better way than what is the standard norm? Because a lot of stuff in our industry is just the way it is because it's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no one's challenging the status quo because they don't need to.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we kind of think of that in everything we do. And if we're designing a new feature, or we're doing any kind of, you know, event, or back when you could do events, we did a lot of them. It would always be with that focus of like, is this just for, you know, some reason, or is this actually going to improve something? And that's whenever we create a new feature, we look at it in that way. Like, I mean, we have a whole section on actor meditations, right?
That's good.
We launched that during the pandemic because we realized that, you know, mental health was important. And of course, everyone realized that. And there's a lot of products out there for it. But we said, no, but we have a unique knowledge of the actor. And so how can we take this trend of the calms and the balances and all these apps and headspaces and all that, but make it specific to you, to our customers? You know, so we did that in the way we handled that was, we hired 3 meditation teachers that were actors or worked with many actors previously that we knew personally, and we helped them craft what it was that we wanted to do with this feature. And then, you know, we launched it, and it's very actor specific.
That's good.
You know, it helps with the challenges that actors have.
Yeah. And so speaking of, well, I guess new designs, is there anything on the horizon for ReAudition that you can tell us?
I mean, the truth is we evolve it every day, right? For someone that's logging in every day, you'll see small changes almost daily, because Richard and I are constantly tweaking and developing and you know, working on, we're either launching new features or we're adjusting ones because we see how people use it or don't use it, and we're sort of refining it. And I think that's a good thing about having a smaller team in our company. We can be adept and we can be nimble. To give you one example, you know, you mentioned earlier Casting Crushes Corona, which was something that the casting director Sophie Holland approached us with. Now, we've always done, since a year into our launch, we've always done auditions and general meetings through our platform, where a casting director will have an open call and do general meetings with talent. So that was always a thing. But Sophie, you know, took it upon herself that pretty much the day she got not cut from her job, but she got put on sort of hold because of the pandemic. She called us straight away and said, hey, can I do general meetings through ReAudition? I want to do a couple of hours a day.
Right.
And we were like, yes, of course. Let's work out the best way to facilitate this. And for those of you guys that don't know, Sophie's the casting director of The Witcher and several other massive projects. And, you know, she was a new mother at the time as well. And she was going through the same pandemic that all of us were. Yeah. Yet that was where her head went to, is how can I help actors, keep in the game during this time? And so, we collaborated on that to launch that in a way where we had to, go through a lot of redesigns for that, and, to deal with the volume of people, and there's a lot of marketing and admin and stuff, but we were able to flip that because that was important at that time. To make sure that that worked as well as it could. And of course, there's always, with any software, there's always issues and things that break and whatever. So we're constantly on that. But new features, we have a couple of interesting features. We're going to be launching a green room. I can't talk too much more about that.
Okay.
An online green room. We're developing the app right now. So there's an iPhone app that's coming, which is
fantastic.
Long time developing because it's quite an intricate app, as I'm sure you can imagine. And we just want to make sure that it is as good as it can be. And yeah, I mean, we're hoping to get back into events and film festivals as this pandemic hopefully winds down, because one of the things that was really great for us the year before the pandemic, we went and hit every major film festival in the US, in the world, in the US as well as the world. We did about 16 different film festivals. We hosted panels and parties around the world for all of our members. And, one of our big things is to foster community and connection. And although we're an online platform, we know that works in person very well as well. And that's one of our skills. So that'd be a nice thing to get back to. And we were hosting these big houses at Sundance and Cannes Film Festival, where we literally use our years of knowledge in the business to facilitate actors to help them get the best experience. So our top members would come along and do that. There's a bunch of stuff. We have a whole social media section coming out where we will be helping actors to grow their socials organically, business focused, industry focused.
That's good.
And provide them content so that it's not such a struggle. So we'll be helping you guys create very specific content for your socials that is personalized to you in your career, and then help you amplify that through the network and through our platform of other like-minded actors.
That's fantastic.
So there's a lot of things. And we just launched a whole resources and discounts section as well. If you guys go on there's a bunch of just curated things, books, TV shows, softwares, classes, things that we know that will be helpful to an actor's career. And we try and negotiate an exclusive discount wherever we can for those as well, to keep giving value to the community,
For those who might be watching who have no idea what we're on about with ReAudition, just to break it down. So, for instance, actors can join and read with other actors, but you've mentioned about booking rooms, as Sophie did. If you were a filmmaker and you were looking for actors or looking to host auditions, or for whatever reason, can filmmakers get in touch and book rooms for the same sort of principle?
Yeah, exactly that, right? So there's a couple of, if you think of ReAudition, there's two sides of this coin, right? As a casting director or filmmaker, you can hold effective online auditions, okay? So before, I think pre-pandemic, that was not really a thing. We were always doing it for the last 5 or 6 years, where it was a video chat audition. So it was like a self-tape, but live with the casting director. And the reason we were pioneering that as a method was because, in-room auditions are what they are, and we like them for the reasons we like them. But they're time and cost inefficient, especially somewhere like London or LA, you're spending a ton of money and time traveling to get somewhere. You're not in your best shape when you get there, whether you've been on the train or in the rain or whatever, or in LA, you've been driving in traffic, you've got to find parking, all that stuff. They were not the best for actors, especially if you're a busy actor. Or you might be just a busy person, might have a family or whatever, and that was inconvenient for you. So self-tapes were a great alternative to that. The problem with self-tapes from the production standpoint is an actor could have done that 100 times and only got one good take. And so the actors could show up on set being booked off a self-tape and not be able to deliver, right?
Yeah.
The other part to that is it relies a lot on the actor, you know, being a good, you know, personal filmmaker and having all the right equipment and whatever, which, you know, now is just a thing. That's just what you've got to have.
Yeah.
But we felt like a video chat audition was that happy medium. It's because the one thing you can't get in a self-tape is that actor's essence. You don't get the little bit of chat at the start or the end. And then for the actor, you don't get a chance to be redirected, which could be the difference between you booking the role or not.
Yeah.
Not because you're not a good actor, just you didn't, you know, you made your choice. And I'm not going to say your choice wasn't right, because every choice is right in a script, but it wasn't their vision.
Yeah.
And so they passed on it. Whereas with a video chat audition, they can go, I really like you. You're good. Look, can you just do it this way for me? Like in a real audition. And video chat quality, as you can see, is so good now that it's like being in the room. Right? Yeah. So we wanted to bring that into an actual thing where video chat was set up for casting. And so the way we built ReAudition is with a very integrated waiting room system. Everybody's profile's linked, so the filmmaker can be looking at your IMDb and all of your credits and all of your pictures all at once without going into different programs. It's all done in the browser. And because it's all done in the browser, it reduces the need to have any extra downloads. Like, you know, Zoom is a thing, but you need an extra download for it. Yeah. Sometimes it doesn't work for people. Our system, if you've got good internet and you've got a good camera, it works flawlessly, right? It's like being in the same room. And then we built in a self-tape tool so that you can self-tape yourself or the casting director can tape you. So that's the casting side. It's completely free for casting directors to use. And for filmmakers, if you're doing like an indie or whatever, you can set up an audition and you can keep your audition private, which means you invite the actors you want to invite. Or you can make it open, which means that anyone can come and audition for it, like an open call.
Right.
The other important thing, as we were talking earlier about building the platform we want to be a part of, as an actor going for an audition or ReAudition, you do not have to pay. You will never have to pay. You basically, if you get an invite from a casting director, you can log in for free, you can create a guest account and you can do that audition. It's not essential to be a member because we believe that you shouldn't have to pay for audition opportunities. That's your job. Yeah. Now, from the actors part of the thing, there is a membership that you can pay for, and that allows you to find a reader to help you with your self-tape or to rehearse with or to train with or coach with. And it also allows you to earn money helping other people. And then there's a bunch of other resources, like we said, like meditation and social media stuff that's sort of add-ons to that. But the key thing that people use it for is to find a quality reader for their self-tape. And to understand why people would use this versus asking a friend or whatever, you can basically cast your tape, right? So if you've got a script coming in and it calls for a certain actor opposite you, you can find that exact type of actor. And a lot of, people in the industry, whether it's actors or cast directors, will say that's not essential. It's not about the other person. And of course it's not essential. Can I do a romantic male-female love scene with you? Yeah, of course I can. It doesn't matter. But if I can find the person that in my mind is right for the other role, it helps me act better because I am more in the scene. The same, as if I've actually got a glass to drink from in a scene, I'll drink more convincingly than if I pretend with my hand, right? Yeah. It's just basic acting. Yeah. The more we can immerse ourselves in the scene, the better our scene's going to be. So I always like to use it and cast the kind of person that I need. The other way I use it personally, which you'll see a lot of people doing, is I find someone that's been on the show that I'm auditioning for.
Okay, right.
Like, or at least the genre. If I'm going for an American sitcom, I want to work with someone that's done American sitcom because they can help me with pacing and these little genre nuances that I might not get.
And so you mentioned how you use ReAudition, and I'll use that as a little a tangent way to actually start speaking about your actual personal acting career, because you've got many a credit and you've worked on some incredible projects.
Thank you.
In a nutshell, how did the acting start for you? Like, were you, and you mentioned right at the beginning, between the ways American people train to the way the English train. Did you train in England, or were you over in the States to train?
So I started out in England, like most people, in local theatre and just amateur acting stuff at school. I got an agent when I was 16.
Right. Okay.
Got a commercial for Dr. Pepper. That was my first job, my second audition.
Right.
And at the time, I remember thinking, "Wow, 50% hit rate. This is awesome." Yeah. And then I did like another 40 auditions before I got another job, which was like, I think, as an episode of The Bill, playing some random criminal. Yes, I started out that way, and then I moved to Los Angeles in 2006 and continued my career over there. And I've been in America since then.
Right.
You know, doing stuff in the States. And now I'm here in Hawaii, and I'm working on a movie this week. I just booked my first job on this trip. I did work in Hawaii before, but on Magnum.
Right.
But yeah, I just booked a movie here, which is nice.
That's fantastic. And I was going to bring up Magnum PI. Is it a sequel to that, or is it anything to do with that, or just so it happens to be another film in Hawaii?
Oh, it's a film. It's a different film.
Oh, okay.
In Hawaii, yeah.
Fair enough.
It's
nice.
a movie for the Hallmark Channel.
Ah, cool. Nice. And I know you also do travel journalism. What was it that drew you to Hawaii? Was it actually a job, or did you just on a whim move to Hawaii?
It wasn't really on a whim. The reason I'm in Hawaii right now is because I was in 2019. I decided to travel around the world completely nomadically. I gave up my apartment in LA, and I just bought one-way tickets, and I went around the world, partly for personal reasons and partly because I wanted to go and promote ReAudition in all the markets that we had members in. Right. I wanted to go and meet all of our members. I wanted to go and meet all the casting directors and meet all the agents. So my sort of schedule was really based around the major film festivals. So I went to all of them, from Sundance to South by Southwest, Cannes, Shanghai, Hainan Film Festival, Venice Film Festival. And then in between, I would visit places that I knew we had members in, and I'd host a cocktail party completely for free for any of our members and their friends that wanted to show up. So we were introducing ReAudition to some new people and celebrating the members that were already part of our, and just doing something kind for them. And because of how we're positioned in the industry, I was able to bring good people to these parties, not just the actors, but the casting people and the agents. And so helping people get connections in person. Yeah. That was what I was doing that year. And then like I said, we hosted these panels and houses at the film festivals. I happened to be in Vancouver when the pandemic hit. So I ended up staying there because it felt like a very safe place to be. So I lived in Vancouver for a year. Hawaii is because I had to move back to the US. I'm on a green card, so I can't stay out of the US for longer than a year. Right. So I had to move back to the US, and I literally thought, where is going to be safe?
I think many people would join you out there, but that would then make it not safe. So don't do that.
Right. I just thought, I mean, if I can choose where I live right now, let me find somewhere safe. Let me find somewhere lovely. Yeah. And one of the reasons that sort of influenced me, because I had at the start of that 2019 Nomad trip, I was in Hawaii, and I was here for a couple of weeks. I ran a party for ReAudition here, met with the agents. I signed with an agent, then had an audition, which was Magnum, and I booked it, and I stayed to film that, and I had a great time. So I was like, look, this makes sense. I have an agent here. It's close enough to LA if I need to fly back for a job. Let me just try it out for a little bit. That's why I'm here. And it's got quite a nice film community here. There's a couple of great casting directors. They just announced NCIS Hawaii, so that franchise is coming here. Nice. A few other good shows, an Amazon show and a Disney show that's happening, and some films happening. So that's fantastic. Place.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly worse places to be during all this. That's fantastic. Right. So how is the and again on a separate tangent, the travel journalism? And I've read a few of your articles as well, and How does that tie in? Well, are you still doing that in amongst all your acting and the WeAudition sort of, I guess, publicizing? Do you find time to do the travel journalism? And did that come first or all at the same time?
You know, I've always done that, again, since I was really young, since I was probably like 16, 17. It started out, I was a secret shopper for restaurants.
Ah,
so
nice. Okay.
That anonymous customer that would go in and try the food and then write about it afterwards for the owners. That was like my job that I did whilst I was at university, because I got to eat for free and get paid for it and take my friends. I was like, why not?
Well done.
Yeah, and then a friend of mine that I knew from the acting world, she moved to Dubai and started a magazine out there for the airline staff. And she asked me if I'd write for it. And at the time, I was hosting on QVC. I was doing technology stuff on QVC. So I was, you know, that guy that would show you the new latest DVD player or whatever.
Sure.
And I said, yeah, I'll write about technology for you. And she said, oh, my boyfriend's already doing that. Can you write about something else? What else do you know about? And I was like, well, I'll go to a lot of restaurants. Maybe I'll write about food. So I started doing food columns in there. And then when I moved to Hollywood, she asked me to write a Hollywood column. And I said, look, I'm not going to do gossip because that's just not my scene. But I'll write about what it's like to be a British person here and all the nuances, and maybe throw in a bit of entertainment industry stuff. So that I had that column for a while, and I started writing different articles because it was something fun that, you know, I could write about the events that I went to out in LA and things like that. So it felt like it was still relevant, and it wasn't too hard to do, and I could do it on my own time. So I always did it. But then the print industry kind of fell apart when blogging became very popular. And so that's when I sort of transitioned into travel stuff only, because I was like, I'm not going to really focus on this, because I was writing for the BBC for a little bit. I did a couple of very actor focused articles for BBC America. But it just got into the stage where I was busy, and I thought I still love doing this, but I really love traveling. So let me just focus on travel stuff and do it as and when I feel like it. And now I mainly do luxury travel, because the publication I write for is a luxury based one. And that sort of flipped into some TV hosting. I got the opportunity to host a TV travel show for Discovery Science a few years ago. And that was great fun. So I'm actually looking to do something like that, to produce a show out in Hawaii. That it would be, again, travel and film industry based. So that's something I'm doing right now.
That's amazing. And just to, I guess, to tie this all up, I always ask for people to give a slice of advice, whether it's how they start. And you're clearly very good at meeting people, creating that connections. As you said, you set up these cocktail parties for your members to meet agents. What piece of advice would you give to approach that agent or the casting director at a party? Like, what is a great icebreaker, or how do you start that connection?
You know, this kind of thing gets asked to us all the time, right? And my answer is going to be really simple, but it's going to sound like I'm not really giving you any advice. but it's honestly just be yourself, right? The major thing that you've got to understand as an actor is that the casting directors, just like you, they're hustling for the next job as well, right? Now, there's, of course, like actors, there's some at the top that the studios are coming to them and they don't do that, right? Just think of it in that exact way. You have your Brad Pitts of the casting world, and you have your new actors of the casting world. We're all just people. We're all just working in an industry, right? And I know sometimes there can feel like this hierarchy or whatever, but basically, don't have an agenda. You know, as long as you're confident in what you do for a living and you're genuinely interested in what they do for a living, with no agenda. When I watch people at the parties, and I do my best to facilitate, right? When it's a good connection, you just see it happening organically, like when you meet a romantic partner or a new best friend. If you just think of those moments where anything happens, or, you know, even I met some people at a dinner party recently, which resulted in me renting the apartment I'm in right now. It was an organic connection where we just got on, and some amazing stuff happened from it. Now, I didn't know they had this apartment to rent. I didn't know that. And that would have been a very different conversation if I'd come in with an agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They just applies to anything in life. And when I'm watching people at these parties, it's the people that are just getting on, they're relaxed, they're chill. They're not like, I'll give you an example of when it doesn't work. We had a party in London a couple of years ago, and there was one guy that was, you know, he was kind of young and he just got out of drama school and he didn't really sort of understand. He hadn't been in this environment before with such high quality people from the industry in a room. And his approach was to walk around the room going, "Hey, are you a casting director?" And there's like, "No, I'm an actor." He go, "Okay." And he walks to the next person, "Are you a casting director?"
Yeah.
And in the end, one of my friends who's a pretty famous established actor pulled him aside and said, "Listen, can I give you a bit of advice? Just try having some conversation with people, because you know what, I'm not a casting director, but I can probably do more for your career and with helping you out with connections and my friends than the approach you're doing, which will just turn people off."
Yeah.
And as a result, they got to know, and he was very receptive to it. He was a good guy. He was very receptive to it. And he met some great people and he started relaxing and having fun. But his approach was wrong, because all he was looking at was, what can I get out of this?
Yeah.
Rather than what can I give? So if I had to give you one piece of a solid advice, go into any interaction with what can I give, not what can I get, and the world will change for you. And coming back to what we're talking about with ReAudition, and you know how we said we want to build a better industry, that's how we approach it. What can we give? Not what can we get? Not what can we take?
Yeah.
Because the taking happens organically. You will receive in ways you don't understand. But you just come from a point of being helpful. People will know, people will recognize, or the right people will.
Yeah. That's sound advice, and I hope there's many people who take that on board and find that useful. But thank you so much for giving up your time today to join me, Darren. It's been truly insightful and lovely talking to you. Thank you everyone for watching. We will see you next time.